Hi, this tutorial we're going to draw a dice. A dice is a pretty small object, so it's going to be sort of down in this area here. It's only going to be about 20 millimeters square or cubed. So first thing we'll do is we draw a rectangle on the ground. So R, we press the R key for the rectangle, click on the origin and just drag a box. And as soon as we do that, our measurements come up down the bottom right corner here. So we're going to go 20, 20. 20 is the first dimension. If I just go 20, enter, you can see it adjusts the width to 20. And if I go 20, 20, and I just type it again, as long as I don't do anything else in between, I can adjust the measurements. So if I want to change that second measurement, I just go comma and type the number I want, such as 100, and it will change the length. If I want to change just the first measurement, I would type 50, enter. Okay, or you can type them both together, which might be 300, 40. Okay, and so it just keeps adjusting it every time you change it. So we want 20, 20, enter. So that gives us the shape of our dice. And Steve has performed his purpose of showing us, is that dice about the right size? It looks to me like it is. So I'm going to spacebar and delete Steve. See you, Steve. Okay, let's push-pull this. P for push-pull. We'll click and we'll head in the upwards direction, and you see in the distance box down the bottom right corner our measurement is being shown as well. So I can click anywhere and type 20, enter. And that's the basis of our dice. Right, so a dice has got dots on the surface here. So what we need to do is firstly decide where our dots are going to go. So back onto the space bar, I can select the surface and spin it around by pressing my mouse wheel to spin it. You probably remember that. So what I want to do though is place the centers of the circles. So I'm going to use the tape measure tool. The tape measure tool is over there. It's T for tape measure. And basically what I want to do here is click on an edge and move my mouse in the direction I want to go. So in this case, I'm going downwards, and so I must make sure that the arrow between the lines there is blue because I'm moving in the blue axis. If I move to the side on, you can see sometimes you'll end up going in the green direction, and sometimes you'll end up going in the well, in this case, you can only go blue and green because it's got to stay parallel with that line. So the tape measure basically makes parallel lines. So if I come down here around about, I reckon about 4 millimeters. So in order to set this, I just click somewhere and then type 4, enter. Now I do the same from the bottom, click, move up, and it actually locks to 4, but I'm in a habit of just typing 4, enter anyway. Once you've defined one, then it seems to do the others the same. Okay, now I also want one in the middle, so I'll show you just a different technique, which is going from point to point. We'll put a diagonal, and that means we'll get the center. So I do from this point to this point. So now what I've set out on here is a grid on which I can put my circles in the right spots. So I'm going to use the circle tool, C for circle. I'm going to hover over that intersection, click my mouse, move it, and I'm going to click again, and now I'm going to start experimenting with some sizes. So that's 2.4. Let's try 2, enter. I think that's too big. What about 1, enter? Too small. 1.5, enter. I think that could be about right. So now if I click on the next circle, it should automatically snap to the 1.5. Okay, so that's not, so I'm just going to do it again. Click, 1.5, enter. I'll do the 5 here. Click, 1.5. So this is going to have 5 sides here. Click, 1.5, click, 1.5. Enter. So there's my dots. And I am finished with the placements of those, and so I want to get rid of those guides. I could just use the space bar and just delete them one at a time, but that's quite slow. So there's a key command, a command up here in the edit menu called delete guides. And I generally do that every time I'm finished a surface just to tidy things up. Right, what's on the back side of this 5 is a 2. 5 plus 2 is 7, and all sides of the dice add up to 7. So if I spin around to the back, I need to do the 2. So a 2 is going to be using the tape measure. We need to come in 4, and it's going to snap, down 4. So there's going to be one up in that corner, and we're going to have one down in this corner, down the bottom right as well. C for circle. Our size is not snapping to 1.5 yet, so let's just do it. It doesn't matter which corner you go in, whether you go top right or bottom right or top left, it's up to you. So there we go, there's our 2 done. Now I'm going to try just one more different one over here with this 6, just to show you something that you can do. T for tape measure. Let's just reproduce 4 on all sides. Sometimes I have found if I go take a tape measure tool from the midpoint like this, sometimes it doesn't actually work. It doesn't take a line out like that. It gets confused. And so if something's not working for you, just press the space bar to go back to the select command and go back to the tape measure tool. And sometimes I've found you're better off not going on an actual point, like a midpoint or an end point. You're better off just going on the edge like that, on the red dot. Okay, so there's my last line, 4 up, and I'll also need the middle. You could do the middle like this in the same way, as just basically drag one across and go to the midpoint of the edge. And same here, go down to the midpoint. If you don't want to use the diagonals, that's fine as well, that's still the center. So C for circle, click, click, 1.5, enter. Now what I'm going to try doing is moving this by copying it rather than replacing it every time. So I've selected the spacebar to the select tool again, click on it, and now I'm going to use the move tool. M for move, M, and what I want to do is move it from the center there to the intersection there. Now it's taking it, but if I press the control key, snap, there it is, you've got a second copy of it. And I'll do it again, click, and I'll move it, and as soon as I start moving, press the control key and it takes a copy. Okay, click. Oh, now I can't do 6 because I've put one in the middle. I'll have to delete that in a second. Click, click, hold the control, press the control key, click. So you can probably see here, I could even do this. On my space bar is select this circle, shift click this circle, not that, this circle, and this circle, and go M for move, click, press the control key to take your copy, and click again. And so that's maybe a quicker way to do it if you don't want to have to draw every circle one at a time. So I'm going to delete my guides again, edit, delete guides, and flip around to the back side of this, which will have the 1 on it. That should be fairly easy. Click, click for a diagonal, click and click. C for circle, and 1.5. So it gets quite repetitive and it won't take you long before you get this process right, and you just got to work out what's on the last surface, which will be the 4 and the 3. So I'll quickly finish that just so you can observe at speed. There's the midpoint. Oops. 1.5. Move, select that. Move it from there. You press the control key. Press the control key for a copy, and there we go. We're done. Okay, so what I want to do next is paint this. So because all the dots are likely to be the same color, what I want to do is group them all together first. So like for example, if I click this, one click selects the inside, 2 clicks, a double click selects the inside plus the circle. So if I shift double click, Shift double click, and I'm holding the Shift key double click. That selects all those surfaces, and I could right click that and go make a group. Now the benefit of this is that I can paint the whole group in one go. B is the tool for the paint bucket, so you press the B key. It brings up all your colors. Let's just go with the first one that comes up. And if I click on there, see now it paints everything in the group the same color. Or if I click on a surface here, then it paints that whole surface. But what I want to do is basically do the whole of the dice dots in the one go. So I'm going to undo and undo. So now each of the circles, okay, undo one more. So I'm going to do that again. Shift click, shift click, shift click, and just work my way around, get every dot in the whole of the dice. And the benefit of doing this is you can change the colors and play with the colors all in the one go without having to go and select every single dot. Okay, so we're going to make use of the groups. Another way that I could have ungrouped those four is to go right click and explode. Okay, when you right click and explode something, it takes it out of a group. Now I think I've got everything there. So I'll right click one of them and go make a group. And now you can start thinking about colors. Now the next thing I'm going to do is if I want to color the dice surfaces a different color, let's say something like this. I know that looks horrible, but I don't really want to have to go and do every dice surface to change the color. So I'm going to just undo that, and I'm going to select the whole thing and make it a group. And now what happens is, because the same thing as before, where if I click on a whole group, it changes the whole group in one go. Okay, now the dots are staying separately colored because they were independently colored inside here. Okay, and it's in the same way that if I double click and get inside that group like this, where is the circle? Basically, I can color them one at a time. No, I can't at the moment. I don't know why it's not selecting that group. It doesn't want to let me reselect it, but anyway, I guess it'll be important that you do the dots first, because at the moment it doesn't want to let me select that inside group. Anyway, you can just play around with those until you're happy with the color scheme. Okay, and once you have finished with the colors, then see, now I've got a problem here. Oh, I've got to get inside it to color the dots. Okay, so you'll have to remember that. So to color the whole group, you click on the outside, the whole dice, and to double click the to change the dots, you've got to double click on that group to get inside it, and then you can change the color of the dots. I think that's it. That's the dice. And so once we're finished with the drawing like that, we need to go File, Save. Save it as dice. We'll actually call it Drawing 2. This is our second drawing, dice. And we'll save it into your graphics folder. That's the end of this tutorial, and I hope you have a good lesson.